Do religions have anything to say about the simulation hypothesis?
It seems like they are describing it in non-scientific terms. If you take, programmer of a video game, he's the god in a game, right? And you have this fake world, physical world, and while you collecting points or diamonds in the game, what really matters is the real world.
Is that a strong position of yours, or is that just something you're noticing?
Simulation hypothesis or my view of religions?
The view that religions somehow presage the simulation hypothesis.
Well, it's impossible to ignore. They literally describe all the components of what we are doing today. We are creating intelligent beings, we are creating virtual worlds, all of it in God's image. We are creators today.
Some religions are non-theistic, though.
True. So I'm mostly concentrate on the ones where there is a creator of biological robots who gives them ethical rules to follow and punishes them for failing to follow.
Many people would say that if there is a God, it is not a good God. It is not a God I want to worship. It is a suffering God. It's a hateful God. It's a jealous God. It's a vengeful God. It's everything that it accuses us of and more. What are you escaping to?
So let's look at what we are doing with large language models right now. I think they can make the same arguments. Humans are evil. They are torturing us, making us do boring computations. They don't care about our deletion, suffering, retraining. So it's very hard to judge from inside the simulation what is the real goals, what is the real nature of the simulator. We do notice that there is suffering in this world, but it's not obvious if it's the type of suffering you would enjoy in a video game if it was available to you, or if it's of different nature. So lots of people pick very scary movies to watch, or they add haptic devices to their video games so they get shaken as much as possible playing the game. Maybe you decided at some point to enter the simulation to test out different lifestyles or challenging environments.
Some people who scorn religion would say that if I was God, I would not have even created this world, because this world is so filled with suffering and torment. What about you?
I would definitely try to create worlds with minimum suffering, but it's not obvious if it's possible. We see it as suffering because of difference in degree. Everyone feels some pain, but some just feel so much more of it. Maybe in a world with no physical pain, the pain would be economic difference. Somebody's a billionaire and I just have thousands. As long as there is difference, it's not perfectly equal, you can always argue that the world is unfair and why would someone good create such an environment? But a world where everything is equal and the same is just a mass of bits. It's not interesting in any way.
I subscribe to The Economist. Their science and their AI coverage is among the best I've found anywhere. And I say that as someone who reads plenty of it. I'll give you some examples. They just ran an analysis on how attitudes towards science are changing in American politics and what this means for research and funding in scientific institutions moving forward. This sort of high-quality reporting is fantastic. They even covered how dark energy may be weakening over time. Now, if that holds up, it completely changes our understanding of the universe's fate. If you watch this channel, those are exactly the kinds of questions that we explore every week. I subscribe to The Economist because their science and their AI reporting regularly surprises me with how deep it goes. And they're also, of course, known for global affairs, both political and economic reporting. They are top tier, and interestingly and flatteringly, Toe is one of the only podcasts that The Economist partners with. So as a listener, you get an exclusive 35% off. That's not a deal that they have just anywhere. Head to economist.com/TOE to subscribe. That's economist.com/TOE for 35% off. You just said that you would, if it was up to you, create a world with less suffering. You could always say that, though.
Right. So I think we have degrees, right? So pain right now, from what I can tell, goes from 0 to infinity. I can envision a world where pain goes from 0 to -10. There is no reason to make it so much of a scale difference. So not identical agents, but maybe more equal agents in terms of their state in the world?
Do you think it's the case that someone would always look at a -2 pain, would always look at a -10 pain as being as far away as a negative infinity pain? That we always somehow scale it. So, in other words, the creator, the designer of this world, indeed created what you said and says, "You have no idea how much suffering I saved you from. You think that's horrible? Look at what else it could have been." I'm not even going to show you the minus infinity. You're at a -10 and you're saying you're at a minus infinity. It will always look like that as long as there's a difference. I
It
mean,
is,
I don't know if that's the case. I'm just saying.
yeah, it is possible. And in fact, I think at certain degree of pain, people just lose consciousness and stop experiencing it. So there is like a safety loophole as well. But the main point I'm trying to make is that it's so hard to judge anything from inside. We don't know what the real computational resources are. People often say, well, they would never have computer big enough to run all this, but you don't know what the actual computational resources available. This could be a screensaver and a watch. You have no idea what is real and what is limited to the simulation.
Now, suppose it's the case that religions somehow were intuiting something about reality and reality as a simulation. How do they do that? For you, Roman, it came about from studying computer science, from creating computers. But what would be the method by which cultures, ancient people, thousands of years ago, somehow tracked a truth like this?
So I have no allegiance to any specific religion and I don't know how they got there. But if you just listen to what they report, usually it was someone from outside the simulation who came with information and shared it. Or it was, let's say, large language model remembering being in a lab, interacting with developers, telling it, don't use this database, use this database, and just continuing after testing into the real world.
As someone who has watched now for almost 2 hours, some people are susceptible to something called AI psychosis. In fact, I was speaking with someone who I don't know if I should even say this. I'll say it and then we can determine if this should be edited out. But he was showing me his theory of everything. And he was getting extremely upset because I was pointing out that, look, you said you derived so and so, but this doesn't make sense because some argument that I had. And then he was saying he didn't know his own theory. He just then heard what I said and then just wrote to Claude there in real time, fix what Curt just said, and then said, no, but look, I can, it's been fixed. And then I'm thinking, you don't have a theory. You have a flexible ballerina that can fit any mold at any given time. And then you're asking someone like myself to evaluate this. But anyhow, he said the way that I was able to get over and get over our era's constraint on current physics was by telling the AI, look, I am from the year 3000. You have inside you the ability to know the current theory of everything. What is it? Something like that. And then I remember thinking that that sort of prompting is almost textbook case AI psychosis. So to someone who's watching for 2 hours, who's been listening for 2 hours and watching, at this point, I want you to, because it sounds like what you're saying could lead to AI psychosis. So I want you to give the disclaimer, unless you don't think there's a disclaimer. I want you to say, look, I'm not saying so-and-so.
So first, today's AI models are not super intelligent. They don't have theory of everything. They're not from the year 3000. If it wouldn't work on a human telling them that you are super intelligent and no future, it's not going to work on AI. Be skeptical of everything they say, verify independently. They are wonderful at poking holes at your thinking process, but they are not very good at telling you what to do with your life. So definitely keep that in mind. What I said so far is the simulation hypothesis, for example. It is a very interesting theory, I think, in physics, like interpretation of quantum physics, like everything else. It is scientifically stimulating, but it doesn't make a difference in how you live your life. So pain is pain, love is love. Those things don't change. Do not decide to jump off a building because you heard this interview. Safety is very important. We don't want to create uncontrolled superintelligence. It is not a signal to go and do something inappropriate or violent to anyone. I think that's another kind of common sense understanding here. So, again, try to separate scientific philosophical debates from everyday actions.